hell is it doing now? And this video is about the question that I posed. There it froze up again. The hell. And then there's freeze. And then there's freeze when you don't know what to do. Freeze is not an option when you are in fight or flight mode and an officer is attempting to break your arm, forcing you into excruciating pain. You are not going to be able to stay still through that. I was trying to remain frozen through that excruciating pain and trying to follow their instructions. While they weren't interested in me following their instructions, they were interested in preventing me from following their instructions through pain, through torture. Now, the question that I posed, I'll bring it up on my phone here so that hopefully my computer will stay connected. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because this is Chelsea. Let me explain to you something about Chelsea. She's short, she's fucking tiny, she's skinny, she is cute as a fucking button, she's got red hair, she's got exotic eyes, she's got very pale and fair skin. Fawn, this is a woman's response, and the only people who really, truly get away with this response are women. On the change the word from black to Jew for a reason. It's still based on our current events, but it's for perspective. I typed, if a Jew encounters a Nazi, should he A, do as he is told and end up shot in the head or choked to death? B, run away and end up shot in the back or choked to death? C, fight for his life and end up shot in the head or choked to death? Asking for all my friends, even if they don't want to know. Chelsea typed, and many people have had these very same thoughts as her, so that's why it's important and it is valid. She typed, so this is an interesting conundrum I've been thinking about a lot lately. I've been doing research into human responses like fight, flight, and freeze, and have recently learned about fawn. In this scenario, I think fawn is the best technique. Fawn is my go-to. And I always felt weak, but the more I learn about it, the more I feel vindicated. Sometimes it's the only viable option. This is a survival technique. Fawn, when you are in the act of being harmed, and you have to appease your attacker, let's say Chelsea was being raped, and she used that fawn technique. Then her rapist goes to court and said she wanted it. And he gets away. He gets to go do it to somebody else. Now, Chelsea, fawn, she can get away with that. Fawn is faking it, pretending. Pretending so that you can survive the situation and get away. Like your rapist, like humiliate you and call you names while he's raping you. And if you pretend like you're into it, maybe he will let you go and think that you'll do it with him again sometime. If he thinks that you enjoyed it, he might let you away from predators. Like I said, fawn is a women's response. Actually, rather a cute little female's response. It doesn't work so good when you're not cute. It doesn't work so good when you're not female. And it doesn't work so good when you're not skinny. Fawn isn't just a response to abuse from your predators. It's also a response, it's a self-preservation response. So when you do something screwed up and you don't want to get in trouble for it, well, that's where fawn comes in again. Now, where Chelsea is talking about it as far as literal survival, what many of these people did with the fawning of the situation with me, and it was mostly females, by the way. Men aren't really taught to do this because it doesn't work for a penis. If you have a penis, it doesn't work. When I was trying to explain it and referring to the assault by the Boulder Police Department, it wasn't fawning an assault, it was feigning an assault, but it's a very similar thing. It's pretending. Now, for Chelsea, she is very, very cute. If she wanted to, now, mind you, she's definitely getting closer to 30 than 20. I want to say she's 27 now, and I could be completely wrong about that. She might actually be in her 30s now. I met her when I was pretty young. I was still over the age of 18, but I was still right in there between 18 and 24. But she had more to type about this. She typed, I bring this up because your question posed fight, flight, or freeze scenarios. Fawn is when you actively cater to and flatter your abuser. In an attempt to humanize both sides for the purpose of survival. That's when you force a young woman to live with her abuser because it's her father. That's where this fawn things come in real heavy. You want this person to love you because they're supposed to. Society tells you that they're supposed to. And no, he's not loving you. He's busy fucking you. And you are forced to do what's called normalizing with your predator at that point. You've gone to your mother about the situation and she doesn't care. She wants to pretend like you're a liar because she doesn't want to be alone. And in that scenario, you have to fawn with your predator every single day, day in and day out, pretending that you like it or pretending that you don't mind or pretending that it's okay that he does it because you understand men have urges. It's not okay. My reply to her was, I tried that too. It's not part of the scenario for a reason. Yeah, I have a penis. It doesn't work. It's not part of the scenario for a reason. But that doesn't invalidate your experience or your opinions. Thank you so much for commenting. Fawn isn't going to work for a black man who is being profiled by a police officer. Fawn is not going to work for a homeless person who's being profiled and harmed by a police officer. Fawn will not save these people's lives. If freezing in place results in police killing you, and fighting back results in police killing you, and running away results in police killing you, you really think he's gonna decide he's not gonna kill you if you get down on your knees and offer to suck his dick? Anyway, I type, but that doesn't invalidate your experience or opinions. Thank you so much for commenting. Type, thank you for your empathy. I don't know that there is a right answer, no matter what the parameters are. And I typed, exactly. Most of these people knew me before the Natalie scenario. And most of these people who wanted to throw tantrums about my situation didn't have to go through this shit and want to treat me like shit because after such hell, I'm not the same person I used to be. I'm not allowed to be. I don't have the opportunity to be. I don't have the motivation to be. The things that made my life worth living are all gone. I still try to help others, but I can't see my loved ones, and that hurts me to the core every day, every single moment of every day. And when I'm on here speaking out, every single time that I am speaking out, I'm having a panic attack because I can't see my loved ones. Every single time. Every time I decide that instead of killing myself, I'm going to get on here and try to have hope that someone will help, that someone will speak out, that someone will go, all right, you're not black, but you're still a human to me, and I will get heard without someone in your corner. Your connection is unstable again. Oh my God. Please work. I didn't have the choice of fight or flight. Okay? I was in handcuffs, being forced, having my limbs and my joints forced into positions that are excruciatingly painful while being shoved forward and lifted up off of the ground. No, I can't fight. No, I can't run away. No, I can't freeze. And fawning is not going to do anything. They're already in the process of trying to break my arm. That was Waylon Lolatai, January 6th of 2018. Because of the crimes of Waylon Lolatai and his fellow border police officers, all of my money from my disability was spent on the courts, paying the courts to appease the courts because I was assaulted by a police officer. But I got to get to the back of the bus after over 2 years of this, where I have been put repeatedly in these scenarios. Meanwhile, Zaid Atkinson went through it once and listen to how he reacts to it and what he has to say, how he's traumatized for life and afraid to leave his fucking apartment. Same thing with Sammy Leon Lawrence IV. Happened to him once. And I've had those things happen to me over half a dozen times with the physical abuse by police officers, and over a dozen times with a bunch of shit that neither one of those men had to go through. Their nightmare ended pretty fucking goddamn quick. And it only happened to them once. And they are traumatized for life. But I'm not allowed to be after a lifetime of it because I'm white. Yeah. That's real bright. That's real intelligent. Way to look the other way. Yeah, I understand that it's happening to Native Americans and it's happening to white people and it's happening to immigrants, but we're focused on black people right now. I'm not. I don't give a fuck about special rights. Matter of fact, piss on your special rights. The rights that you're after are the same rights that I'm after. The same rights the homeless are after. The same rights that Native Americans are after. Piss on you if you only want them for you. You're a racist asshole. Well, I don't care if they're doing it to natives and whites and immigrants and all these other people. I'm just pissed off they're doing it to black people. So you have a small number of people who actually give a shit because you have fucking alienated everyone else. No, white people, we don't want your help. You're all the enemy. Meanwhile, who do I see at these rallies? Whether it's for women or for LGBT or for Black Lives Matters, I always see white males who have been brainwashed into believing that it's all white people's fault, and he has to appease all of these minorities for all of the things that other white people have done to them. Like, I don't feel bad enough already. You gotta badger me like I'm a terrible person. Like I should feel bad for the terrible things that other people did to you. And I do feel bad. I feel bad because those people did that to you. I should not be made to feel bad as if I did those things to you. But that's the point, Sylvia. Sylvia wrote, "Focus on police brutality." And that is what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on the fact that it's not just happening to black people. I'm focusing on the fact that if we just make special rights for black people, that's not going to change it for any of the rest of us who also have to go through it. Many of us having to go through it far more often, far more frequently than the black community, because the black community and much of the white community will come together and speak out if it happens to a black person. Fuck this back of the bus bullshit. And fuck all these people saying, well, now you know how black people feel. Bitch, I grew up in this from day one. Now I know what black people feel like? No, I will never know what it feels like to be a black person. Why? Because I'm not a black person. I don't know what it's like to be a black person at all. But I do know 100% beyond any shadow of a doubt what it is like to be the target of racism. And a lot of it. When you, as a black person, have somebody do something racist, like a racist cop, pulling the same bullshit that they pulled on me, when they pull it on you, it's wrong, isn't it? But then you get locked up. You get locked up in a facility, right? And yes, you're in there for a crime that you didn't commit. And you're in there for a lot longer than you should be. And maybe you did commit the crime. But you're still going to spend 5 times longer for a first offense than a white person who lives in a house. I should specify that part, because if you're white and homeless, that doesn't apply. That rule just goes right out the window. But if you're black and in a house, you're going to get 5 times the amount of time that a white person would get for their third offense. I do know what it's like to be treated like a criminal. I know what it's like to be treated like a criminal for speaking out against criminals. And we're not talking about people who are fucking stealing candy bars down at the fucking Quickie Mart. We're talking about rapists. We're talking about child molesters. We're talking about people who prey on the innocent, prey on the disabled, prey on the broke. That fucking fly keeps landing on my forehead right up here. And you don't get to see it because my head's off the screen. Oh, I was going to try killing that little bastard. Dead fly. Yeah, 10 points. I had a pile of 5 or 6 of them earlier. I was pissed off because I couldn't get them for the camera, but as soon as I ended up with a lag situation where I had about 2 minutes to myself, I just went at the flies and forgot about talking. The fawn technique. It would be nice. Now for Chelsea, that is a valid technique. for Natalie Bollinger, that's a valid technique. All right, another message held for review. You probably cursed in it or used a word that they don't like, but I'm going to allow it. I don't know about that. When I was in the joint, them black girls keep saying I'd get my good time because I was white and they had my hopes up. I didn't get shit. Women's jails. That is an entirely different scenario. I have never been to prison, male or female. I've had a few female friends of mine that have been to female prisons, and it seems to be less of a race issue there than it is in a male facility. However, there is also a lot more sexual abuse in a women's prison than there is in a men's prison. You are more likely to be raped by another inmate in a female prison than a male one, just so you're aware of that. Because many of you aren't. Unstable connection. God damn. Fucking please reconnect. All right, we're reconnected. Now, a lot of people are like, you're racist, you're racist. No, I'm still sticking up for black rights. I still admit that the things that these police officers are doing is completely wrong. I just refuse to bow to the narrative that black people are getting it worse. The statistics show that they're not. Statistics show that the homeless and former foster kids get it worse than anybody. They get it worse than immigrants. They get it worse than minorities. They get it worse than women. Meanwhile, these children in the foster care system and these homeless people, there isn't a specific skin color that they belong to. There is not a specific religion that they belong to. There is not a specific gender that they belong to. There is not a specific sexual preference that they belong to. The homeless encompass all of our rights because of that. If you want to fight for black rights, you need to fight for homeless rights. You want to fight for white rights, you need to fight for homeless rights. You want to fight for native rights, you need to fight for homeless rights. You want to fight for gay rights, you need to fight for homeless rights. You want to fight for men's rights, you need to fight for homeless rights. You want to fight for women's rights, you need to fight for homeless rights. That's just on the adult side. You want to fight for Christian rights, or Jewish rights, or atheist rights, or Muslim rights. You need to fight for homeless rights, because that is where human rights violations are at their most pure, where your hatred is identified for exactly what it is. These people are lower than you on the totem pole in your mind. And when people are predators to you and you can't get at them, or you are too afraid to get at them for whatever reason, you go find someone who is smaller than you on the totem pole to take it out on. If you're a black person, take it out on a homeless person. And that homeless person, who do they really have to take it out on? Probably a black homeless person. Think about that for a minute. When you decide to pass on your racism to some poor white homeless person that doesn't fucking deserve it, they didn't fucking do that racist shit to you, the police did. They didn't do that racist shit that your landlord did or your boss did. You want to keep your job. You want to keep your house. You don't want to go to jail. But you're also frustrated. And you remain frustrated. And then you go find someone you can take it out on that you think you can get away with it. Homeless? That's a good start. Potentially mentally ill? Even better. Also a minority? Oh my God, yes, you are starting to figure it out now. Now you are starting to figure out what criteria makes it okay to victimize somebody. And the more of those criteria that a person has, the more acceptable it is. Hell, you go after somebody with a bunch of those criteria, the American public will eat it the fuck up. Yeah, get that motherfucker. Like, hold on a second, you're victimizing the victim here. Sylvia Wedding typed, fight for all rights. We're all the same in the end, and don't take it out on the homeless. This needs to end now. Exactly. Exactly. And that will cover black people. That will cover Native Americans. That will cover white people. That will cover all of the people that the Constitution was meant at the beginning to cover. At the very beginning, it was supposed to cover black people too. But we had to appease some Southerners, or we never would have won that war. We. Does that actually literally mean we? No, there is not a person alive today who fought in the Revolutionary War. We as a nation, we are not the nation that we were then. The Constitution that they held so dear, we have flushed down the goddamn toilet. And by we, do I mean we? Actually, yes. When the government took away our rights, when they pulled this bullshit for all of my lifetime, not just against black people, and we let them get away with it and get away with it. And then 9/11 came around. By the time 9/11 came around, they had been steadily and gradually dismantling the Constitution. After 9/11, it disappeared entirely. And we've been replacing constitutional law, which is supposed to prevent things like Nazism. And we are replacing those parts of the Constitution with Nazism and imperialism that allows the upper echelon and their goons to get away with doing whatever they want. Major McCaw typed, I agree with you. People need to focus a lot more on homeless rights. There are so many laws that seriously oppress homeless people, and homeless people are often the target of police brutality. That is right. There are more hate crimes against the homeless than all other hate crimes combined in the United States. I want you to think about that for a minute. And right after you think about that, I want you to consider the fact that that doesn't include police interaction. Police can do whatever the fuck they want to you at any point in time. It doesn't matter if they can call you mentally ill or not if you're homeless. Unless there's a situation with the news, in which case they could be targeted for their crimes. Then they're gonna, yeah, do everything in their power to try to justify their crimes. To try to push you over the edge, to try to push you to the point of suicide. Cody Selhorst, on the night that he was trying to intimidate me into leaving Chapel, Nebraska. Why was he trying to do that? Because I was trying to turn in his fellow officer, Jordan Anderson, who wasn't even there anymore. Jordan Anderson left Chapel PD or Chapel Dual County Sheriff's Department. Chapel is part of Dual County, Nebraska. There's Chapel and Big Springs. That's the two towns in Dual County. Now, what happened when I tried to bring charges against Jordan Anderson? He was allowed to go somewhere else. What happened when I tried to bring charges against Jared Hahn for his misconduct and for Cody Selhorst for his misconduct? They lied to Jen Beebe, manipulated the situation so they didn't have to do anything. They had me sent out of jurisdiction to be drugged because I was trying to turn in those officers. And the Added insult to injury and spit in the face there is that the officers that I was trying to turn in were the very officers who drove me to Scotts Bluff. I needed Jen Beebe there so that I could safely make a report against those police officers without having to deal with the threats and other tactics that those officers were using. When I tried to turn in Jordan Anderson, I had to deal with threats and harassment and bullshit from Scott DaCosta, Jordan Anderson, or not Jordan Anderson, Jared Hahn, and Cody Selhorst, as well as the prosecutor at the time, the county prosecutor, Joel J. All of the people that I'm told to go to. Now, when Cody Selhorst and Jared Hahn tried to pull their fucking threatening and antagonistic bullshit because I was trying to turn in their fellow officer and Scott DaCosta as well, yeah, that made it so that, yeah, if I try to turn in these officers, then I'm going to have to deal with that again. And if I have to go in by myself, they can get away with doing what it is they have done time and time again. Turn off their body cameras and add their own narrative. Omit any information that does not try to justify their crimes. Now, that video from the news that I posted up where they went to like 18 or 19 different departments, I think they said they went to like 23 different departments and 3 of them gave them a paper and the rest of them treated them, well, that's a 30-something minute video. I only got to the third one. I only got about 5 minutes into that, if that, out of 33 minutes and 40-something seconds, I think it was. Holy shit. I posted up stuff about Clearview. Stuff that people wanted to pretend doesn't exist. Like I am schizophrenic and imagined all of these things. But then when it happens to other people, it's magically wrong. It's not wrong when they do it to me. And you say that these people would never do those things when they do it to me. But then a couple months later, after Lolatai did what he did to me, he was in trouble for doing it to more homeless people. With Clearview, when I said what they did to me, and nobody cared. Clearview killed 2 people after that. That's why you don't let your predators go. That's why you keep on fighting no matter what. Your loved ones, your friends, and your family will be next. If you don't fight this now, you will be next. Your children will be next. Your neighbors will be next. I am against special rights. I am for equality. I want to be able to walk down the street with my black girlfriend if I get one and not be afraid that she's going to be harmed or I'm going to be harmed just because we care about each other. I'd like to be able to have black friends without having to deal with racist assholes calling me an N-word lover. And yes, I do get called that in Chapel, Nebraska now. Then again, I always got called that here in Chapel, Nebraska. Every Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I spend half the day listening to a bunch of racist old farts who don't really produce anything and don't actually contribute to society. They just inherited property. And they use the N-word all day long because they're pissed off that the bank is closed. So I spend half of my day listening to these assholes, and the other half of my day is telling those people, I don't like that word. I don't like that word. I don't like that word. And the usual response is, I don't care. That is the usual response I get from racist rednecks in Chapel, Nebraska. Citizens arrest, LOL. I was going to citizens arrest. I was going to come back here 4th of July of last year, 1 year, almost a year to the day. I had to get it done before the 4th of July in 2019, though, because of the statute of limitations and the special rules for statute of limitations for police officers. Anywhere from half the time to an eighth of the amount of time for a regular statute of limitations. They get special rights because they're police officers. Obviously, if I don't want the police to have special rights, and all of these different groups are complaining that the police have special rights, yeah, obviously, special rights are not what we need. Police should not be held less accountable because of their positions. They hold a position of public trust. They need to be held more accountable. If you assaulting an officer will result in 20 to 40 years in prison, then for a police officer to assault you should have 80 to 160 years in prison. These people are trained in the law and crisis de-escalation. And somehow they magically find ways to escalate the situation and break the law. Z-Man's up. Boy, your mom's going to kill us both. She sees you on here. Says police are military, armed with a badge and uniform. Military, not police. You're right, Z-Man. You're absolutely right about that. When it comes to human lives, I'm not for any specific group. I'm for all of us. I grew up in foster care. I grew up being abused because people could get away with it. And what do I do about it? I speak out. I try to fight back verbally, not violently. But it seems to me the only things that people understand is violence. It's all they want to hear about. It's all they want to know about. Violence is drama, and they love it. I don't know how many women that I've known that have said, oh, I think it's terrible that men all act like dominant male monkey pig dogs and do all of that violent thing. And then when those women get drunk, they're the ones that are egging it on and trying to make it happen. Like Haley Smith, when she got Brian Farmer and Jared Wallace killed. Just like the police, she escalated the situation. She escalated the system, or escalated the situation because she was drunk and all up in her feels. When Dino wanted to leave, they wouldn't allow him to leave. Why? Because Haley Smith didn't want him to leave. Haley Smith wanted him to be punished because she was all sorts of drunk and didn't like what Dino had to say. Meanwhile, Dino is Hispanic. He's a dark-skinned individual. The two people that he killed were white people. Am I justifying the killing of those people? No, I'm not. Brian Farmer and Jared Wallace should be alive to this day. But we also need to pay attention to the fact that Dino was forced into a situation that he couldn't back out of. See, the thing that Haley Smith did with those boys that were harming Dino, hitting Dino, wouldn't allow him to leave. That's what I had to deal with over Natalie. And about 12 years ago or so, I had to deal with that here in Chapel, Nebraska over Jamie. But you know what? I still look out for Jamie if she needs it, despite the fact that she literally had over 100 people text message me to spam me. And she had people who are friends with her and Jackie call me to harass me and send me fucked up messages and then tell me that they didn't. Like for me, one of the people that was harassing me or sending me messages was James Payton's brother, Dusty. I got kicked out of Lodgepole High School because I yelled at Dusty Payton for flicking quarters and pennies at my head to try to impress a girl named Shauna Talish. Are you guys seeing a pattern here? I want to know that. Are you starting to see a pattern here? With that situation with Dino, Jared Wallace, and Brian Farmer, all three of them could have walked away without prison. All three of them could have walked away still breathing. But there was a manipulative woman there who was drunk on alcohol. And because she's a woman, because she's pretty, she was dating Brian Farmer. It's his job to blah, blah, blah her honor, whatever the fuck you want to say. I don't care. The point is, at that point, there is no honor to that woman. And you are not being chivalrous by being on her side. Train. Hey, Z-Man, I got to let you know something. Jackie calls up your mom anytime that I talk about anything. That's at least according to your mom. So, if Jackie sees your name on here, not that she will, because I do make enough videos that really it'll be difficult for them to see them all. They're not going to have time to see them all. But if your mom sees your name here, or Jackie sees your name here, there will be hell to pay for both of us, and you know this. Now, if you're typing in here because there's an emergency, that's a different story. And if it is an emergency, I'd like you to let me know about it. If you are not safe, that's pretty much the only situation until you turn 18 where we can have any form of communication, Z-Man. All right. Well, this has been a long conversation, a long bit of talking, and I'm sorry I went off on a tangent at the end there. We really need to do a better job of recognizing other people as human beings. We need to do a better job of creating equal rights instead of special rights. We need to do a better job of not ignoring the plight of others because they aren't part of our specific group. Sylvia, you have no idea how many women have typed those exact words to me. She typed bitches be crazy. Now, something that women type to me more often than that is women are scandalous or oh. If they land right, I can get all three of those flies at once. Oh, motherfucker. They keep flying up and landing on my fingers instead. Oh, and then I dropped him. That was fucking impressive. There's another fly. Let's see if we can get us a couple more. There's one right on the letter M. Starting to run out of flies. Now that guy's too close to my screen, so I won't be able to get the leverage to smack him in time. Now what I can do is wave my hand like this so he flies away. And if he lands back on a better place to smack him, not on my back, I get him to land in front of me, because if he lands off to either side of me, it hurts my back to twist, and I've also been instructed not to twist my back. Alright. I know he wasn't that fast because I felt him and I saw him fling. Oh, he just fell apart. He's still juicy though. Now I learned that from a guy here in yes, sir. I learned that from a guy here in Chapel, Nebraska named Matt Klingman. The girls thought it was absolutely gross. By the end of class, he had fly guts all over his hands. But it's effective. I don't use a fly swatter. The situation has more to do with what we are taught. Fuck. Unstable connection. All right, motherfucker. You get back over here and let me kill you while we're waiting. We're back. Welcome back. I don't even remember what I was talking about. I keep getting the thing up in the corner that says the connection is bad. Most of this is stuff that we're taught. We are not born with bias. We are not born hating homosexuals. We are not born hating black people or hating white people. We're not born blaming everything on men or women. We're born needing protection from the elements. We are born needing protection because we can't even crawl when we're born. We need protection from predators when we're born. We need fed when we're born. There's a lot of stuff that you just simply can't do. Now we're dealing with a lot of stuff where some people's rights just aren't as important as others. Well, we need to focus on these people's rights. Well, with all due respect, I am focusing on their rights. I still fight for black rights because I recognize them as my rights. I still fight for LGBT rights because I recognize those as my rights. Dead fly. Oh wow, that one made kind of a little clacky sound when he bounced off the aluminum foil. There's a lot of people that should have come forward to begin with, but they were busy playing head games. And a lot of those people were women because that's what they're taught. And men are taught to be more physical, which doesn't turn out so well, does it? You have to protect your woman's honor by getting physically violent. Well, that sounds kind of stupid to me. If you're defending her life, that is a different story. But if you're defending a drunk woman who's starting trouble, that's not too bright. That's the point where you hope that you can convince her to leave before you have to call the cops on your own girlfriend. That's if you're trying to do the actual honorable thing. But you're not going to do the honorable thing, you're going to do the loyalty thing. There's a lot of people who want to come forward and they're just afraid to. They're afraid that their families will shame them or harm them or blame them. They're afraid that their families will think less of them or will love them less. I did listen to Rob's video, and it's got a lot of stuff that is wrong in it, but he did, given the information that he had at the time, he did a far better job than Sword and Scale. Despite the fact that Sword and Scale had a full interview from me. They chopped it up into about 30 seconds of me talking, and the things and questions that I was answering from Josh were taken out and replaced with questions of a different sort from Josh's boss. That's the guy who was in charge of Sword and Scale at the time. Now, mind you, he lost his job shortly after what he did to me, but not because of what he did to me, because of his comments about women. I'm sorry that happened to me too. But even with the information that I gave to Josh that was supposed to be printed in its entirety and was supposed to be turned over to the police in its entirety and wasn't supposed to be released until they found Natalie's killer. They tried to twist out of proportion for entertainment purposes. Mike or Rob Gavigan had less resources than Mike Boudet did because he didn't have my words, but Rob, sorry, took the time. If you notice some of those videos that he posted up, those are actually from my timeline. Now, a lot of people who saw that, they see one of the videos where there's a white sheet in the background, and I'm talking about the situation with Natalie. And they're like, all right, so, how did you know that she was dead when this video was posted? I'm like, this video wasn't posted when Natalie disappeared. The ones with the white sheet behind it, I posted those all at Shannon Alvarado's over a year after Natalie was killed, or right around a year after Natalie was killed. Everybody knew that she was dead at that point, and a lot of people at that point already knew that Joseph Michael Lopez was in prison for that crime. But then people thought that it all went away. No, the police did a lot of fucked up shit, and they had to do everything in their power to run cleanup so that we didn't end up with a situation in Boulder like we're having to deal with nationwide. It's bad enough where people are pissed off that this is happening to black people, but when it happens to the disabled, that's when people really get up in arms, or rather shouldn't they? Shouldn't they be up in arms no matter who this is happening to? Or only if it happens to your group? When it all comes down to it, we all make choices, and many of us, we make the wrong choices, not because we mean any wrong or any harm, but because we are given the wrong information. Now, this person, they call themselves your friendly neighborhood YouTube watcher. Typed, "You're fucking crazy, dude." So I'm going to click the show button so the rest of y'all can see I'm not fucking lying. Now, I got a question for y'all. This person in the lower right hand corner in the live chat section, and it might be in a different place on your computer, I don't know. But is his name your friendly neighborhood YouTube watcher? Or am I schizophrenic? Also, did he type, "You're fucking crazy"? Or am I schizophrenic? I'm sorry I went through that too. A lot of people type they're sorry, but sorry doesn't change it. Sorry doesn't get the work done. All right, Major McCall typed, that is his name, and he did type that. Well, yet again, see, with many of these witnesses that I talked with, I asked them during our conversation, hey, they're trying to pretend like I'm schizophrenic. Am I schizophrenic? I asked them about situations that when I told the police treated me like I was schizophrenic. I said, did those things actually happen? Yes, Sean, those things did actually happen. Am I schizophrenic? No, Sean, you're not schizophrenic. Jesse Ratliff typed, yes, it is, and yes, they did. Z-Man, I noticed you haven't typed anything up in a while. I am hoping that you didn't get in trouble. I'm hoping that you were in bed with the lights off, trying to get some sleep. I don't have a way to get in contact with your mother. The last time that she called me was to harass me using a basically a phone number that you call, and then they harass people with your phone number. It's a prank call number, and she thought it was hilarious. And then immediately afterwards, she blocked me so that I couldn't bitch at her for doing that. Sylvia Wedding also typed, "That's what I see." So that's three people there already that have typed that yes, regardless of this dude typing the fact that I'm fucking crazy. And it is a fact. We're all crazy. Every human being on the planet is crazy. You know what's not crazy? Animals. Humans have abstract thought, and a lot of it. And a lot of that gets in our way. Now, this person typing, "You're fucking crazy, dude." You're a friendly neighborhood YouTube watcher. Friendly! You're fucking crazy, dude. That's so goddamn friendly, ain't it? And yes, I know there are gonna be Christians on here who are offended because I said goddamn. Oh. Between hearing the word goddamn and seeing one of my friends frozen to death, I'd rather hear the words goddamn. Jesse Ratliff typed, "I'm crazy, lol. I believe in aliens and paranormal things. I own my craziness." Absolutely. Do I believe in aliens? Absolutely. Why do I believe in aliens? Because of the law of averages. If there was just one sun and 9 planets in our solar system and that was it, I'd say, yeah, there's no such thing as aliens. There's no goddamn way that there's aliens. But being as there are literally trillions upon trillions of suns just like ours, and there are other classifications of suns too. There are billions of suns just in our galaxy, and there's billions of galaxies. Law of averages, yeah, there are probably aliens. Maybe they're amoeba. Maybe they're protozoans or radiolarians. Maybe they got little flagella flopping off of them. You never know. It might be Klingons, some big fantasy thing from Star Trek, or something similar. It could be. But I don't think that with the law of averages and the law of possibilities, the Anunnaki, yes, I have. I live in North America. You can't live in North America and pay attention to North American mythologies and not learn anything about the Anunnaki. Do I believe in the Anunnaki? No. Like I said, I believe in the law of averages. Who isn't crazy? They're out there watching you. I believe in Bigfoot. Very cool, Sylvia Wedding. I believe in Bigfoot too. I have seen some people with pretty big feet. One guy that I was locked up in an institution with, he had size 15 feet. One of the kids that I went to school with in Lincoln High School had size 21 feet. I wear size 9 wide. Boy, oh boy, does that make you feel inadequate. Those are some big feet. One of the kids I was in school with in California had big feet too. He got all of his shoes. Now, people like this kid because of where he got his shoes. There was no other reason, just his shoes. Because when I went to Ethel Dwyer, that's in Huntington Beach, California, Ethel Dwyer Middle School, yeah, this kid got his shoes from a professional basketball player. He got hand-me-down shoes, high-dollar shoes that are only made in that size for that basketball player. That's the only reason they make them that big. And they only make them specifically so that basketball player can advertise their product on the basketball court. And after the game, that basketball player donated his shoes to people who have abnormally large feet. Jesse Ratliff typed, "Where do you live?" "I live in Chapel, Nebraska. It's about 2 miles north of the Colorado border." Cops here have always been crooked, just as cops everywhere, pretty generally crooked. And I made that video earlier about how police have to be afraid of being retaliated against by other police, just the same as any other rat. That's the word that's used most common. You're a rat. You ratted out your fellow police officers. You ratted out your brother. You would rat out your own mother. You ratted out our gang. Don't do bad shit to innocent people, and I won't tell on you. Pretty fucking simple, ain't it? Ever been to North Carolina? Yes, I have, Jesse Ratliff. In 2016, while I was visiting Miss Natalie and Miss Alicia in Virginia, Alicia hooked me up with a job through Labor Ready, and Labor Ready sent me to North Carolina, which is where Maddie Boa is from, to clean up hurricane damage from Hurricane Matthew. So yes, I've been to North Carolina. Once. The last time I was in Virginia, it was right there on the cusp of 3 borders. There was Tennessee, Bristol, Tennessee, and then right across the border, because Bristol, Tennessee is where the bus station is. And Bristol is on both sides of the border. It's on Tennessee and it's on Virginia side. So Brett, when I went to Virginia last, he was no longer living in North Carolina. I was supposed to visit him when I went to see Natalie in 2016, but he was in jail. So that didn't get to happen. He was part of my support network. When we were there, they took me to a lake, and when I was looking at the map of the area, it turns out that lake, part of it is in Virginia and part of it is in North Carolina. And I walked part of the way around the lake. I just don't know if I walked far enough around it to be in North Carolina. What part? I've lived here 24 years, all my life, LOL. I'm not actually sure. What I do know is that it was a dollar store that got flooded out, and that's what we were cleaning up. And they were real paranoid about us handling it with our hands without gloves because the toilet overflowed as well. And there was dookie on the floor that had come up through the toilet and other places when the flooding happened. So we were supposed to take the stuff that was completely soaking wet and throw it in a dumpster, where a homeless person was actually trying to fish some of that stuff out for his homeless camp. And our bosses called the cops, and the cops came to harm a homeless person for being in the garbage. It was pretty fucked up. I'll be right back. I gotta piss like a Russian racehorse. Mm-hmm. Yep. But I guess the long story short with that is that that's just another one of those things that while I was supposedly stalking Natalie and Alicia in Virginia, are you going to invite someone to go to these places if they're stalking you? Are you going to tell them that you love them if they're stalking you? Are you going to tell them that you want to have one-on-one conversation with them and you're sorry that your sister has to be there every time if they're stalking you? Are you going to invite them to stay behind where you work if they're stalking you? And mind you, Natalie didn't even work there. Alicia did. Natalie outright lied repeatedly because she was embarrassed. Meanwhile, her sister can verify every bit of that. But I have to find a way to get her into court. And the more laws the police broke, and the more public pretenders refuse to do their jobs because they don't have to, because they get paid either way, the more impossible that became. the more I was ostracized and harmed for crimes that I didn't commit, the more abuse that I had to take, and the less chance that I have of ever having an honest day in court, ever. Because these police pulled the felonies that they pulled, I do have an extra year in that help. It doesn't make any difference because they're just going to call me mentally ill and do what it is that they've done before. Ride me through their kangaroo courts, prevent me from showing evidence, tell me I'm not allowed to show evidence from out of jurisdiction or even in jurisdiction, and allow slander from other jurisdictions and other police departments into the courtroom. Allow slander from my predators into the courtroom. And despite the fact that I have proof that these people lied outright to the police and slandered me outright to the police and to the media, and that the police outright slandered me, it doesn't matter if I can't get anyone to look at it. Now, that doesn't mean you guys. I've posted this evidence on my YouTube since the beginning. And my first YouTube, the one that got destroyed, was full of that evidence as well. But it doesn't matter because this is not a court of law. I started bringing this out on YouTube and on Facebook for a reason. Because I'm not allowed to do it myself. I'm not allowed to turn in a dirty fucking cop. I'm not allowed to turn in the people who took advantage of my disabilities and stole my money. But I must deserve it, right? I'm ugly, so I must be deserving of this punishment. Natalie was pretty, so I must be deserving of this punishment. That whole fawn thing that Chelsea was typing about, she was typing it about defending herself against an actual physical assailant. And that can work for women. It doesn't work for men. That's not one of our options. Now, fight, flight, or freeze. In many of these situations, freezing is not an option. You can freeze in place if somebody's pointing a gun at you. Yes, freeze is an option. You can freeze in place and get shot in the head. However, if they are trying to break your arm, trying to break off your fingers, trying to gouge out your eyeballs, trying to choke you to death, you're not going to remain still. You're not going to have that reaction. You are going to have fight or flight because you are in immediate jeopardy and immediate pain. And police, all police officers, every single police officer and law enforcement officer in the United States is taught that. They are taught pain compliance. They are taught how to hurt you to get what they want out of you, even if it's a false confession. And although police do that to everybody, we really only see anyone making a big deal out of it when they do it to black people. It's not okay for them to do it to black people. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that it's not all right for these officers to do it to anyone, and I refuse to support the narrative that they're only doing it to one group, and that only that one group needs help. And we need to focus on that one group as if they're getting it worse than anyone else. And in reality, the homeless and foster children have it worse than any of you, regardless of their gender, their skin color, or their religion. Well, I was about to end the video, but Sylvia typed something and it says this message is held for review. I'm going to show it because I always do. Then charge you money for it. It's all bullshit. The picture of you with the patch on your eye made me mad. They tried to make you look crazy as fuck because you have personality. I thought it was great, made me smile. I'm gonna tell you a story about that picture. Um, there was a guy named Steven, and Janine Parrish, or Janine Barrett, and her son Derek Parrish were living with Steven, and they invited me to come over there and visit with them, and so on and so forth. And I did. It was actually a bit of fun. But Janine had this app, and she wanted to take a picture of me with an eye patch. And this app is supposed to, she didn't tell me what it's supposed to be for, but apparently it's supposed to be for telling your IQ based on what you look like. So she takes this picture of me with the eye patch and with my hair, hold on, up like this, just in good fun, you know. This is a picture that Janine wanted to take, so we took the picture. And then they tried pretending that I was crazy by using that picture. Look how scary he is. He's ugly and terrifying. Yeah, I don't have a missing eyeball. I'm not really that terrifying. I was wearing it because it was actually right around Halloween. But even if it hadn't been around Halloween, we had the eye patches. Might as well have some fun with it. I mean, I don't know how many adults go to the 1940s ball, the whole World War II thing, and they get all dressed up, or how many adults go and do the reenactment thing. It's all right to play dress up, even as an adult. That's the message I get from that. A lot of you probably have different opinions, but, well, it's your opinion. You're entitled to it. But then again, when you're choosing to ignore facts, ignore evidence, and ignore violence against innocent people because it doesn't fit your opinion, well, now you're doing something wrong. All right, I'm going to end this now. I don't even remember what the video is supposed to be about to begin with, and I am surprised that I have made it an hour and 13 minutes into this video, almost an hour and 14 minutes, without too many freeze ups. Y'all stay out of trouble or don't get caught.